strung out on drugs, alcohol, fast living. I had what I like to refer to as the Robert Downey Jr. syndrome. You ever remember this guy? Yeah, he's in and out of jail, and he was very famous. One minute I'd be in the studio with so-and-so. The next minute I'd be in a shooting gallery in Long Beach, California. Just living from day to day. I'm a recording engineer by trade, and I've worked with everybody from Marilyn Manson to Crystal Lewis, from Trisha Yearwood to Vince Gill, to Godsmack to Pennywise. Anybody in between, I don't know if some of those names make any sense to you, but in America they're very famous people. Some of them are very famous all over the world. And I didn't see a lot of happiness in that realm either. But how many of us are pretty much focused on success in this room? I don't need you to raise your hands. Because unfortunately this society has drilled us to be that. And this world puts us in that kind of funnel, tunnel vision. And it's a lie straight from the devil. He says we don't fight against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities, spiritual wickedness in higher places. If I'm not led by Jesus, like Proverbs chapter 16 said, God's not establishing my ways or my thoughts. And to think with Jesus' thoughts and speak with His words is our goal. Jesus Christ was the prototype of the spiritual life. But see, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about that but having a good time. See, I didn't have any problems as a child, even though I was a troubled child. 5 years old, I knocked a kid's tooth out on the bus coming back from kindergarten. By 8, they had me in a psychiatrist's office. Now, in Southern California, in 2009, that's probably a normal thing. But in 1970, in the suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts, that's not a normal thing. Let me help you. So as things progressed, I just kept getting more rebellious and didn't listen to anybody. I had a little bit above average intelligence, and I didn't listen to nobody. There was nothing you could tell me. You're not going to tell me. I know what it is. As a matter of fact, I know what you're going to say before you say it, so please don't waste your words. So after a few years of that, I decided to pack up my guitar and moved to Beverly to become a star. I came out to Hollywood to become a star, but I didn't get too far because I was down there on those streets, those mean streets. And before you know it, I was stealing for my drugs. And I'd have to wake up, and if the man finally showed up after calling him 6 or 8 or 10 times, I'm having to run around looking for water, and I'd draw water out of a mud puddle in the ghetto to get a fix, so that I could get things started and get my day rolling. What kind of life is that? I thought I knew everything. But after a while, you're just trapped. And you might not want to do that, but you ain't got no power to stop it, right? You got no power to stop it. And I had no power to stop it. And if anybody came up to tell me about Jesus, I'd say, get away from that Jesus stuff, man. Take it on down the road. If you want to buy me a drink, that'll be fine. You see? In all those years, I never knew any Christians. And now that I'm a Christian, some of my friends will, Jeff, we tried to talk to you about that, but you wouldn't listen. Yeah, well, you sure didn't act like no Christian when I seen you. So how would I know? Right? So the first term of prison, after a while, you're going in and out of county jail. After a while, you get to graduate. You get to go upstate. In my first term in prison, my dad was telling me about Jesus because he just recently got born again and he was on fire and he was telling me about Jesus. My mom had always been saved. And she's like that 1 Corinthians woman that just sanctified her husband through the prayers. And some of you women know what I'm talking about. It's some of you men are praying for women also. And if it wasn't for the prayers of my mom, my dad would have never got saved. Heck, I wouldn't have got saved. Are you kidding me? 35 years she prayed for me. If nothing happens after 2 weeks, well, I'm changing my prayer usually, right? So my dad's telling me about Jesus, and he's telling me, you got to check the Bible out. You're going to see these incredible stories, Jeff. You're going to see these things. I used to say, Dad, I know him. Come on, I know him. I know him. I know him. Well, my dad ended up dying while I was in prison, 3,000 miles away, and they weren't going to let me out to go to no funeral. So they took me out of a dorm with 90 guys, and they stuck me in a small room for about a half hour so I could get over it. And they put me back in general population. So I started thinking, well, maybe I should check out this Bible, see what's going on. Well, I started reading it, and man, what the heck is this? I go over to the two guys that claim to be, Christians on the yard, and I'm asking them questions. I got more questions than verses I read, you know what I mean? And this guy's telling me this, and that guy's telling me that, and by the time I got out of prison, I took that Bible, and that ain't just what I thought. Written by man don't make no sense. So I got started, I got right back out, man. Before you know it, I'm getting ready to produce Michael Jackson's Limo Driver. This is 1997. And everything's going good, and I'm living in Hermosa Beach, a really upscale area, Los Angeles. And things are going great, but at that time, Michael Jackson had to be over here in Europe, so his limo driver had to take care of his mansion and the visitors that were coming and going. He says, Jeff, I just got about 4 or 5 weeks I got to deal with, and just hang in there and we'll go in the studio. I said, sure, no problem. Well, what happens usually when a dope fiend has some sort of success going on? Anybody want to tell me? Anybody tell me?
Spend the money.
There you go, that's right. We're going to go party, aren't we? Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, I stuck another needle in my arm, and 7 months later, I'm on my way back. And I'm looking at some time. I'm looking at about 12 to 15 years for robbery. Assault on 2 off-duty police officers, and who knows what else. I don't remember. I was pretty high.